Good morning, students. In today's class of retail management, we'll be studying about a new topic, that is the organized retail formats. If you remember, in the previous classes, we have studied about what is the difference between unorganized and organized retail formats, what is the scope and size of organized and unorganized retail formats. We have also studied about what are the various unorganized retail formats. And in today's class, we'll start with what are the various organized retail formats. When we say organized retail formats, it refers to the various formats available in organized retailing. So first, we'll just recap what is organized retailing. Organized retailing means where it identifies with trading activities carried out by licensed vendors. So there must be licensed vendors in organized retails. And if you say what are the various types of organized retail, it includes hypermarkets, supermarkets, this corporate based big retail organizations or privately owned big retail organizations. These all come under organized retail formats. We have also studied that in the previous classes about a joint report done by Deloitte and Retail Association of India, where it was said that the share of organized retail, which was 12% in 2017, is expected to become 22 to 25 percentage by 2021. So we can understand in near future the size of the organized retail is going to increase. Organized retail are generally refers to those retail formats which are regulated by the government, that they pay taxes. Even the employees who are working in this retail organized retail formats, they have regular pay structure, they have proper increment facilities, their salary is concrete, they get it regularly. So all these things are present in the organized retail formats. So this is all known as organized retailing, and under the organized retailing, there are various type of retail formats. So we will understand by the diagram that what are the various formats available under organized retail. If you see the diagram, you can easily understand that the retail formats are divided into on the basis of three types, that is store based, non-store based, and service based. Again, the store based retail formats, organized retail formats, are divided into two types, ownership based and merchandise based. Under the ownership base, it is consists of independent retailers, chain stores, various franchises, lease departments, cooperative stores. Under merchandise based, where the way of dividing the stores are based on the merchandise. It is known as convenience stores, supermarkets, hypermarkets, specialty stores, department stores, factory outlet, and catalog showrooms. Apart from the store base, there are certain retail formats that does not require store. So that comes under the heading of non-store based retail formats. It consists of direct sales, email orders, postal orders, telemarketing, and automated vending. And apart from the store-based and non-store based formats, there are also another way in which retail formats can be divided, that is service-based retail formats. It includes various types of service providers like in banks, car rentals, service contracts. So all these come under the various types of service-based retail formats. Now we will, in today's class, we'll focus our attention on this ownership-based retailing. Under this, we will understand these five formats, organized retail formats. So all the retail formats are divided into three types, that is store-based, non-store based, service-based. Under the store-based, it is of two types, ownership based and merchandise based. In today's class, we'll be focusing on ownership based retailing. It is consists of the independent retailer, chain retailer, franchising, lease department, and cooperative stores. We'll start one by one. Now, coming to the first uh, type of format under ownership based retailing is independent retailer. What is an independent? Independent retailer, also known as kirana store or local mom and pop stores. These are the stores which are prevalent in India since a very long period of time. These are standalone stores. They are operated in mostly in residential areas. They are operated for generations. Okay, and so this is known as the independent retailer. Here, the independent retailer only owns one retail unit. So there is no much retail unit under it. The owner has one small retail unit. It is run by the owner and his family members. They generally do not employ people from outside to run the shop. If at all they want to run, they use people they know from family members. They manage the store. Also, India has the highest number of independent stores or independent retailers, that are the kirana stores. These are mostly available in this residential areas, and mostly uh, these are opened in homes only. In front of homes only, these are opened, and their brands are limited. They don't keep a huge assortment of brands, and these brands are dependent. What kind of brands they keep dependent upon the locality it is based. If the independent retailer is based in a posh area, the kind of brands that he will be having in store in his assortment will be little bit more branded. And the similar kind of independent retailer store or kirana store is present in a very slum area, so they will be having very local brands or brands which are of not much importance or small brands. They will not be having very branded goods or assortment of products, because the local market people will not buy from that particular shop. So the independent retailer, the brands is limited, and the quantity of brands or unbranded products sold by independent retailer depends upon the locality in which it is placed, is located. It allows customers to buy on credit. So this is one of another examples, because here the kirana stores are sometimes, a lot of kirana stores are maintained for generations to generations. So the owner of the retail store, the kirana store, knows the local people very well. So there is trust, and for that reason he gives some credit to the local customers. Similarly, home delivery is also available in the neighborhood. They also deliver in sometimes, if they know the customers for a very long periods of time, they also deliver the materials or the merchandise to the home of the customers. Examples are standalone grocery stores, florists, stationery shops, bookshops, etc. Now, we'll understand what are the advantages and disadvantages of an independent retailer. If you look at the advantages, so these are the major advantages. There is flexibility in location and format. So they can locate it anywhere they want, but generally they are located in residential areas so that they can get access to these ready customers who are available in the locality. And also there is no absolute format they should follow. They can follow any kind of format. Okay, and so there is no fixed format they need to follow. So this is one of the major advantages. Second is the initial starting of business is low. So ease of entering into the business is low because the investment funds are down. So with a very less amount of funds also, we can start this kind of retail organization. So this is one of the second advantages of independent retailer. Third is personal relation with customers. Since the kirana store is available, sorry, since the kirana store is available present in the locality for many generations, it has developed certain personal relations with the customer. So this is also another example of uh, independent retailer. And finally, it boosts the entrepreneurial drive of India. The entrepreneurial drive means it um, encourages people to become entrepreneurs, because they feel that they can open their own shop with very less amount of fund. Only thing they require is a small place. It may be they can start it from their home also, and they should know the people in the locality. So this is one of the important advantages of independent retailer. Now coming to the various disadvantages, it has certain disadvantages. First is lack of bargaining power. These small independent retailers do not, have a lot of bargaining power with the suppliers. The reason being that they don't uh, order these products or merchandise in huge quantity. So the bargaining power is less. So the suppliers take advantage of it. They do not deliver the products or the merchandise as per the requirements of the retailer. Sometimes they don't also provide this transportation facilities to these small retailers. So this is one of the disadvantages. Another disadvantage, there is no economies of scale. You must have read in economics, what is economies of scale? Economies of scale means if you buy in bulk, we can negotiate on the price. So there is a little bit of economies of scale when you buy in bulk. But the small independent retailers, they cannot buy in bulk because there are very small shops. They only buy in very small quantities. So they cannot have this advantage of economies of scale. So this is one of the disadvantages of independent retailer. Then coming to limited access to advertising, there is a very less advertising in these kirana stores, small kirana stores. They have put up small boards given by any particular brand or something. They have few danglers or posters in their shops, but generally there is very limited access to advertising. And finally, one of the another disadvantages of this independent retail is over dependence on owner, because this shop is maintained and all activities of the retailer are being done by only one person, that is the owner, and few family members. The whole operation of the retail store is highly dependent upon the owner. So if the owner falls ill or something happens to the owner, the shops remains closed. And also there is high cost of transportation, ordering and handling cost. All the three costs, both the transportation, ordering and handling cost, are high because they don't order in bulk. So this is also one of the disadvantages of the independent retailer. So this is the first format of organized retail. They are based on ownership. Second is the chain retailers or the chain stores. These are multiple units under a common ownership. Here the owner is one, but it has multiple outlets or multiple units. Second, the decision making and purchasing is usually centralized. What does it mean? It means that even though there are multiple outlets throughout a city or in a region, the purchasing and the decision making or purchasing is generally made in a centralized way, and then the assortment, then the merchandise as per the assortment is sent to various outlets present in different localities. The chain stores offer and keep similar merchandise. So this is also one of the prominent features of chain retailers, is that they offer similar kind of merchandise. If a particular chain retail store is of stationery, then all the chains will be selling stationery items. Similarly, if the chain retailer deals with apparels, then all the chain retailers outlets will be dealing with apparels only. So they offer similar kind of merchandise and offers. Why? Because in the previous point we have studied, they have a centralized decision making and purchasing. So obviously, if the decision making and purchasing is centralized, and from one point all the decisions and purchasing of all the retail stores is done, then obviously the merchandise that is being sold in all the various branches or outlets of the chain retailer will be same. These are spread over cities or regions. The stores can keep selected merchandise according to the customer's preference in a particular area. So this is one of the important reasons. The merchandise, even though the purchasing decisions is being made on a centralized basis, they generally keep the merchandise as per the people in the local area, in a particular area, as per their preferences. Because if the products are not available the assortment of merchandise is not available as per the preference of the customers in the particular area, the chances of being selling this merchandise will be difficult. So in order to attract people from the particular area, they should have the assortment of merchandise as per the preferences of the consumers in that particular area. Then next is the what are the various examples? Let's give few examples. What is van use in stores, shopper stock, etc. Even though these are decision and purchasing is done on a centralized basis, depending upon the local area where it is set up, they have different kind of merchandise. Okay, but they all sell similar merchandise or keep similar merchandise. Now coming to what are the advantages and disadvantages of a chain retailer, the various advantages have bargaining of power due to purchase volume. Obviously, since they have to buy for 3, 4 or more than that retail outlets, so they will be having a lot of bargaining power. Also, the cost and operating efficiencies are there. Obviously, the cost and operating efficiencies are there because both the handling, transportation, ordering, all this cost will be less, all the operating cost will be less, so we can get efficiencies out of it. There is technical ability. Obviously, the single owner cannot control all the outlets, chain outlets. So he will be having qualified people to handle all these outlets. So they also may be having use of certain technology like ERP or other things to see that how the inventory level is there, how the things are stocked, how what is the profit and loss. All these softwares must be there. So there's a little bit of technical ability available in this chain stores. Advertising availability is also there because they can have a single advertise, make a single advertisement and can say that we are available at these places or these localities or regions we are there. So at the cost of one ad, they can advertise the various localities in which they are present. Finally, they are less dependent on the owner and has usually trained management. Obviously, as I've said, the owner cannot remain at various retail outlets. He takes the help of this trained management. When they are having trained management, the approach is much more good because the the trained management are trained with how to handle the operation of the retail stores. So they will be better handling the retail stores. Now these are the advantages. Now coming on to the what are the various disadvantages associated with this chain retailers. Okay, investments are high. Obviously, there is not in an independent retailer. The ease of entering into the business was there, but and investment costs were low. But here the investment costs are high because not only one store, various many stores are opened under chain retailers. So the investment costs are high. Manager control is different. Obviously managerial control will be difficult because there will be different managers managing all the stores. So in order to align them as per the decision and the purchasing, all the decisions that has to be taken in a centralized way, it is very difficult to control. Sometimes it may lead to commotion. So this is one of the disadvantages. There is difficulty to find new locations. Obviously, when you're opening an independent retailer, you are opening in the home or in a locality where you know the locality, so the location can be easily found out. But when you're opening in a multiple areas, as we are a chain retailer does, so he has to find various locations, suitable or conducive locations at various location places. So this is one of the major difficulties of chain retailers. Also, there is difficulty to maintain consistency. Since we have said that consistency has to be maintained, it is very difficult to maintain. Why? Because there are different retail outlets under the same retail chain retailer. So it is very difficult to maintain the consistency of the products, even though we want to sell similar kind of merchandise. As we have said, the merchandise has to be kept as per the preferences of the particular area. So sometimes maintaining consistency becomes difficult under this chain retailer. Now we'll understand about the third kind of ownership based retail formats, that is franchising. Franchising is very much popular in India and it is hugely franchises are opened in India, huge amount of franchises. So what is a franchise? A franchising operation is a legal contractual relationship between the franchisor and the franchisee. Okay, so it's a contractual relationship between the franchisor and the franchisee. So who can be a franchisor? The company who is offering the franchise is the franchisor. And who is the franchisee? The individual who will own the business is a franchisee. So as we have seen earlier, in independent retailer and chain retailer, the the retailers have to make their own identity. They have to make their own brand in order to sell in the market. But in franchises, there is no such obligation of building the brand. The brand is already built and is already present, is a famous brand, and the franchisee just takes, is by this agreement takes this how to they get a license and they can sell the products of the franchisor to the public. So there is no brand building here. The brand is already there. They so the risk of entering into the marketing via franchising is less as compared to independent retailer or a chain retailer. That is the reason people mostly are interested in opening franchises or franchising outlets. Franchisor offers use of trade name, store motif, organized operating procedures, and a prescribed territory. When a franchisee applies for a franchise from particular franchisor, the franchisor offers the franchisee to use the trade name of the franchisor. What are the store motif, what are design styles or logos of the particular franchisor, the standardized operating procedure. Each franchisor has a blueprint of what are the various standard operating procedure, how it can be the store can be maintained. So these are very properly, thoroughly made operating procedures. So these things are made understood to the franchisee. Also, the prescribed territory in which there is the franchisee can open the store, that is also set. So it is becomes easier for the franchisee because almost all the main work is done by the franchisor for the franchisee. The franchisee only needs to operate the franchise store as per the guidelines of the franchisor. The franchisee agrees to operate under the conditions set forth by the franchisor. So what happens? All these things are provided by the franchisor, and what is the role of franchisee? The role of franchisee is to operate under the set conditions by the franchisor. The franchisee also pays an initial fee and a monthly percentage of gross sales in exchange of exclusive rights to sell the goods and services in the area. So by this contractual agreement of franchising, the franchisee gets the exclusive rights to sell those goods and services in the particular area. But in lieu of that, he has to pay an initial fee and a percentage, a monthly percentage or a commission basis, which or royalty which he has to pay to the franchisor every year or as per the percentage of the gross sales. Examples are McDonald's and Pizza Hut. These are very famous franchises. When we say franchising, franchising are of two types. There are two ways in which franchising can be given. So let us understand what are the various types of franchising. The first one is product or trademark format. Here, the franchise operates rather autonomously. Only the product or the trademark is given by the franchisor to the franchisee. There are certain operating rules, but the franchisee sets the store hours, chooses the location, determines the facilities and displays as per their own requirements. So mainly the product or a trademark has been given, product and trademark has been given by the franchisor to the franchisee, and the franchisee has a lot of independence in terms of what are the store hours he can open, what is the locations where he can open. He can determine what are the various facilities he can give, what are the ways in which he can display the product. So there are not very set operating procedures. The operating procedures are somewhat little bit less as compared to business format franchising, which will be in this is the second type of format. In the first, the product and trademark for a format, here only the product is given. Example is gas stations, Indian Oil Corporation or HP Gas, Hindustan Petroleum. All these things, they only give the product. The way they will maintain the store, the way they will operate the store, these are not completely handled or as per the guidelines of the franchisor. So this is one type of franchising. Second is business format franchising. If we, as we have seen in the given the examples of Domino's, Pizza, these are example of business format franchising. What happens here? An arrangement where a franchisor teaches to the franchisee the entire business's format, the whole business's format is been understood, is been uh, taught to this franchisee by the franchisor how to operate the complete business as per the format given by the franchisor. Here, the rules of operating the franchise store is much more difficult and much more rules are there. The business format is taught by the franchisor, including how to market, how to sell, how to keep the inventory, how much to keep the inventory, what are the various ways we can do the accounting, and what are the personnel procedures, like what kind of person has to be kept in the job, payroll, how many people has to be kept in the payroll, how the shop should look, what should be the area of the retail of the franchise store, what should be the color and the design of the franchise store, and what is the sitting arrangement or other things associated with the franchise store is being taught by the franchisor with the franchisee, and the franchisee has to follow all these guidelines if he wants to operate the franchise store. Example is like, as I've said, is McDonald's and Pizza Hut. Now coming to the various advantages and disadvantages. When we come to advantages, these are the various advantages. There is little bit small capital investment because you are taking only a contractual agreement, you are taking only a license kind of thing to operate this one. So there is little bit small capital investment. Brand awareness is there, obviously, because we are buying the franchise from a branded uh, company or branded brand you are buying. So there is a lot of already brand awareness there in the market. So you need not create awareness regarding a brand or need not create a brand. The brand is already available. You just need to sell that branded products to the customers. Third is tested operations and procedures and management skills. All the operation procedures and the management skills that are needed to operate the franchise store are already tested, because you are not the first person who's operating the franchise store. There's a lot of franchise stores already then throughout the country. So they have very tested the formats of how to operate the stores, what are the various operating procedures, the management skills required to handle the complete store. All these things has been already tried and tested by the franchisor. So you need not worry about these things. So this is one of the advantages. Then cooperative marketing. Cooperative marketing means the franchisor tries to help the franchisee in marketing of the products, because they have a centralized advertising and where they can say that our stores are available in various places. So your advertising costs are hugely reduced. Then coming to exclusive selling rights. Obviously, this is one of the major advantages of franchising, because here the franchisor gives exclusive selling rights to the franchisee in a particular area. So nobody else can open or sell those brand of products in the particular area. So this is an advantage for the franchisee. So he can expect good return on his investment. Apart from that, there are certain disadvantages. What is oversaturation in some areas? If you look at certain like Domino's, so there is a lot of oversaturation in some areas, because if the brand is very big and people are hugely demanding the product from that branded franchise, then what happens? There is sometimes there is oversaturation. Similarly, the contract provisions have to be strictly followed. If you are not, there is an agreement, contractual agreement, that has been mentioned that we have to follow the contractual provisions very seriously, very strictly. If we don't follow it, then they may revoke the agreement and they may take away the franchise store from us. So this is one of the disadvantages. Also, there are cancellation clauses. What is cancellation clauses? Cancellation clauses means that if you are not performing as per the standard operating procedures given by the company, if you are deliberately revoking any of the guidelines that is being given by the franchisor, then there may be clause for cancellation of this contractual agreement. Also, There is a short duration of 3 to 5 years in most cases. There is a certain of agreement renewal fees that has to be given to the company, and very short duration, sometimes in most cases it is 3 to 5 years, where the franchisee has to again pay the renewal fees to the franchise. So this is a recurring cost for the franchisee. So this is one of the disadvantages of franchising. Also, there is a problem of royalties or commissions which the franchisee has to give to the franchisor. So this is also a cost that is being incurred, extra cost, and this is also one of the disadvantages. This paying of royalties or commissions is considered as one of the disadvantages of franchising. Now we'll study about another retail format, that is ownership based retail format, that is leased departments. When we say leased department, these are small stores which are opened in very high traffic areas like malls, airports. So what happens? These are independent small department stores. These are leased. The place is leased by the main. If it is open in an airport, or if then the airport authority leases the small areas to people to open their own stores. The all operations of the store is done by that person who is taking the lease, and he has to pay a certain lease amount to the airport authority. Similarly, you are often opening the lease department in a particular mall, then also you are not a part of the mall, you are independent of the mall, but you are paying a lease amount to the mall. And why you are paying that lease amount? Because here as the high traffic areas, a lot of people will come and visit the mall on a regular basis, so you feel that there is a chance of getting more business if you are present there. So you are paying a lot of price for a small piece of area in these high traffic areas. So you are taking that small place in lease and opening a small retail outlet. These are also known as shop in shops. Okay, the big shop is the mall, and the big shop you're opening a small shop. So this is known as shop in shops. When a part of a department or a retail store is leased or rented to an outside party, it is termed as lease department. So a large part of a department or a mall or retail store is leased or rented out to an outside party to open that small retail outlet, and known as leased department. Then it's specially done for selling perfumes and cosmetics. Nowadays, a lot of things are being sold by following these lease departments, but it was started by selling mostly perfumes and cosmetics. High traffic areas like malls, airport, multiplexes, etc., having the presence of small retail outlets are examples of lease departments. So the small retail outlets you find in these areas of airports, multiplexes, railway stations or airports or malls, these small retail outlets are known as lease departments. So let's understand what are the advantages of lease departments. Lease department operators pay for some expenses, thus store cost reduces. Obviously, the lease department operators pay for some expenses, so the store cost, overall store cost reduces because they get a certain, they give a lease amount. So the main store has advantage because some of his regular costs are reduced because he's getting a little bit of income from this lease department. Second, a percentage of revenues is received regularly. It is advantageous for malls because, or airports, or places, these high traffic areas, because they receive a regular income from this lease department. So they know that a certain regular income will regularly flow from those lease departments, by which they are assured that certain amount of money they will receive regularly. Thirdly, a regular store personnel do not have to be involved. What happens? These lease departments are controlled by the operators. They have their own operators, and they do not depend upon the large store or the mall in which they are opening the store. So the main store or the main mall or airport authority, people in working in the airport or in the mall are not required to control the leased department. The leased department is managed by a person, and he is responsible for undertaking all the operations, and the main store personnel need not be worried about this lease department store uh, operations. So these are the advantages. Now coming to the disadvantages. Each department's operating procedures may conflict with the store procedures. Sometimes the opening times or the way of returns or other things, it may be conflicting with the main store. So it is difficult when it is conflicting with the procedures of the main store. So this is also one of the disadvantages. Lessees may adversely affect the store images. Obviously, there is certain image associated with a particular retail store or a big department store or a mall. So, if they open a small retail outlet, and this may adversely affect the total store image of that big department store or a mall. So, this is also one of the disadvantages. Apart from that, customers may blame problems on the stores rather than on the lessees. Sometimes if these lessees do not perform their operations in a better way, or they try to defraud the customers, or they cause dissatisfaction to the customers may blame the main store instead of this lessees or the lease department operators, because they think since it is opened in that particular big store or a mall, the mall authority or the big store authority are responsible for this lease department. So they may, without knowing it, they may blame the main mall or the retail store. So this hampers or adversely affects the image of the mall or the big retail store in which the small retail outlets or lease departments are open. Now coming to the last type of organized retail format based on owners, that is cooperative stores. Cooperative stores are what? These are businesses owned and run by consumers with the aim of providing essentials at a reasonable cost as compared to market rates. So people belonging to small or this lower medium salary group or income group, they open this consumer cooperative stores. What they happen? They come together and they open a store. They go and buy from the wholesalers or manufacturers in bulk and sell the products in the members of within the members of this cooperative stores. So these beings are businesses, small cooperative store businesses are owned and run by the consumers with the aim of securing or providing essentials like grocery items and other things, essentials at reasonable cost to the is reasonable cost as compared to market rates. As compared to market rates, the products available in these consumer cooperatives is much more less, since there is no middleman, so it is less. And there is bulk purchases, that also the economies of scales also operate, and the as for the market rates, the rates of these cooperative stores, merchandise available in these cooperative stores will be comparatively less. Purchases are made in bulk, thus enjoy economies of scale. As explained this, consumers join together and manage the business, and the profit thus earned is retained among themselves in the proportion of their contribution. Suppose in a cooperative store there are 50 people or 50 consumers who are together operating the store. They may be having a few members who will be completely operating the stores, and whatever profit is retained is divided among all the members of the cooperative stores in proportion to their contribution to the cooperative store. So not only they get products at a lesser rate, they can also expect a certain return on their investment by this retaining the profit as per the proportion of their contribution. It has been victorious in protecting the interest of the people and in cutting down the cost. These cooperative stores have been really victorious in protecting the interest of the people and also the bringing the total cost, because these small people belonging to the small or small income group, they are not able to buy products from the at market rates. So they are hugely their interests are protected, and they get products at very less rates due to this consumer cooperative stores. Examples are Sahakari Bhandar or Apna Bazaar. Apna Bazaar is in Mumbai. Sahakari Bhandar is placed found in many locations. So these are the examples. Sahakari Bhandar and Apna Bazaar are examples of these retail stores, cooperative stores. Now we'll read about the advantages and disadvantages. When we come into advantages, the advantages are three kinds. The control is democratic because all the members of the cooperative store are together managing the store, obviously, so the control is democratic. Economies of scales, scale as purchases are made in bulk. Obviously, there is economies of scale because the purchases are made in bulk, and since the purchases are made in bulk, they are having little bit negotiation power or bargaining power with the suppliers, so they get the products at a lesser rate. And also the members get fresh goods and cheap commodities from the stores. So those are the consumers who are part of this consumer cooperative stores. They get not only the fresh goods because they buy only those assortment of product that is being preferred by the members of the cooperative stores, and also they get cheap commodities because there is no middleman associated with the cooperative stores, and since they buy in bulk, they also get the advantage of economies of scale. So the members not only get fresh goods, they also get at a cheaper rate. So these are the advantages. Now coming to the disadvantages. Management is in the hands of the amateurs, as professional managers cannot be hired due to low funds. Because the aim of the cooperative stores is to reduce cost of the products. So they will not hire professional managers or trained managers to handle this store. So this is a problem because the people, only the customers who are part of the or members of the cooperative stores handle the stores. So they may be amateurs, they may not be having professional knowledge, they may not be trained in managing a retail store. So this is also one of the major disadvantages of this cooperative stores. Now coming to another disadvantage, that is too much dependence on the honesty and loyalty of the members or workers. The workers' honesty and loyalty sometimes may change. So this is also one of the difficulty or disadvantages. Similarly, suffers from low finances. Obviously, even though while making bulk purchases, they have to get this purchase amount from this contribution from the various members. So sometimes the finances are very less because these cooperative consumer cooperative stores are operated or started by the consumers who are belonging to a small income groups or lower income groups. So sometimes it suffers from low finances. So these are the disadvantages of consumer cooperatives. So we have understood about the various organized retail formats, and that we have studied what are the various retail formats under the ownership based retail formats. Now, if you have any doubts, you just come back to me. I will be sending you the notes digitally. Go through that. Okay, no need to worry. Thank you for your attention.